Like, I mean, I did like backyard stuff with my friends and stuff. It was more backyard sports entertainment than backyard wrestling. We weren't really hitting each other with chairs as much as we were coming up with different characters that we could cut silly promos in front of a camera with. A lot of the early PWG stuff, I kind of was more like a talent relations, where I would contact the guys and talk to the guys just because I had a bigger network at the time, because I had done a lot of different things in the area, of Southern California especially. And Super Dragon, although he's gotten way better at it, he used to not be so like social with everyone. Like, he was kind of more like introverted and just. So I would be the contact. I honestly think one of the best things about PWG is how not political it can be. And you know, like, I think a lot of companies suffer because there's too much of that. You know, that's kind of when because I never wanted to be the guy who was the champion of the company that he was doing in the office for. Right. So that actually became a kind of a turning point where I kind of stopped doing so much office, because I told Super Dragon, I said, look, if it makes most sense to put the title on me, and you know, there's a couple reasons why. One, I was starting to do the heel stuff with the character and was really getting over, and two, I think Kevin Steen was the champion at the time, and maybe because his availability was in jeopardy there, and to help build his feud with Super Dragon 2. So there's a lot of factors that went into that. But I told him, I said, hey, I don't, like, if we're going to put the title on me, I don't want to be any part of booking during this time that I'm the champion. You know, I don't want to be that guy. And a lot of times in early Southern California, those promoters would try to get you to not wrestle like other places. Like, well, you have to be loyal to me or be loyal to this company. And, you know, and he kind of understood the same way I do that. Like, no company's going to look out for you as much as you do. So try to get as much work as you can. You don't know, you know, like, he's not very open, you know, like, sometimes he is. And like, you want to reach out to him and see what's going on in his life. But, you know, and then when it comes down to it, it's really just, he's really unapproachable now, which is really a shame, because like I said, he was such a sweetheart and such a nice guy. Yeah. Recently, he came up to me, it might have been at the last PWG show, and he said, hey, remember when Jake the Snake had his last match at PWG? That was kind of weird. And I was like, I don't think that was his last match, you know, like, but he was clueless to it. He really thought that was the last time Jake the Snake wrestled. So I was so used to like teaming with Matt Morgan for 5 minutes at a time. You know, like that. It's difficult to go from being conditioned like that to being conditioned to have a PWG style match. So it's not anything intentionally or reflective on the wrestlers themselves. To, you know, it just sometimes when they come off TV, they're a little not used to that style. I mean, in theory, there is a guy in TNA that checks all that stuff, but I don't know that TNA is ever. And I don't know if it's possible to follow every single one of their talents to like find like every independent. It's kind of and I think it's weird for them because like it's not like WWE where you can't do any show that's not WWE. So if you get caught doing independent, then you know, you're obviously in trouble. But we're TNA where some are okay and some aren't, that they have to find the show you do, then they have to check whether you were filmed or not, or being so, you know, like, so it's hard because like sometimes you do a show and like the show doesn't get released for months and things like that. Earlier on in the day, you know, Hulk Hogan pulled me aside and he said, hey, you know, no matter what happens out there, you know, we want you to know that we really like you, we enjoyed your match, and we like your look and everything, and you know, there's possibilities in the future, no matter what happens tonight. So that kind of gave me the indication. Well, like, I mean, I already had a feeling I was going to be a no because obviously they took the first guy. So that kind of gave me a sense that it was going to be a no. And then literally like minutes before I walked out to be called out there, Eric Bischoff pulled me aside and said, hey, I understand you're pretty good with the microphone. Don't be afraid to go off if you feel the need to. And that kind of gave me the okay I needed, because Hulk Hogan was one of my biggest supporters, which is probably so surreal to me because I grew up such a Hulk Hogan fan, like such a Hulk Hogan fan. So the fact that, you know, Hulk loved it and, you know, actually befriended me, and like every time I would see him, he'd be busy on days of TV, but he'd make sure to like pull me aside and like have a talk with me and like be like, hey, come over here. Like, well, how's it going? They would fly me in and I would go to the hotel, and then they would hide me at this hotel until like, you know, everyone else had the call time of noon or whatever. And like, I would, if my segment was on at 9 o'clock, they would send a driver to pick me up at like 8:30 to drive me over to the place or whatever, and I would only be there for my segment, and then I would go back to the hotel and hide, because I actually got a call from Jamie Noble, and you know, he was an agent, and he was like, hey man, how far away from Fresno are you? And it's like maybe like a 3.5 hour, maybe 4 hours with traffic drive from LA. And it was like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. And I was like, maybe 3 hours. He's like, oh man, get in your car, come right now. Cause I got these indie guys. I don't trust them. I need someone to wrestle Mark Henry. And I was like, okay. Candice Michelle had come to a PWG show cause she lives in LA, and she loved the show, and she saw me backstage in extra and like pulled me out of the extras locker room and took me into Johnny Ace's office. And keep in mind, like, I didn't do any of this. I didn't ask for this meeting or whatever. Said, oh man, this guy, he's got such a great character. He engaged the audience so well, and just, he's blah, blah, blah. Just started putting me over like crazy to him. And then like, he's like, oh, well, have a seat. And I took a seat, and then she left the room. And as soon as she left the room, but I honestly think like I was used as a, like, we're going to try this, or we're going to invite this TNA guy down and, and he's not going to be worth it. Just to have that, like, I actually think that they politically used me to show that TNA guys aren't equal to WWE
Almost like
guys.
To discourage people, you think?
But just kind of like to brag without bragging. Like when you're at the Performance Center, you're kind of in awe of where you are because it's like, WWE, there's 7 rings here and this and that. And like, so he says some pretty ridiculous things that you kind of just accept when you're there. And then like 2 months later, I'd be like brushing my teeth at home, and I'd stop and I'd think, wait a minute, did Bill DeMott really say that? And did we all just accept it like it was a real thing to say? Like, at one point he said like WWE had to retrain Daniel Bryan or else he wouldn't be as good as he is today. He's obviously not there for his wrestling knowledge or his ability. I think he's there to bully 20-year-olds, and I'm not a 20-year-old, and if he doesn't speak to me like an adult, I'm not going to respond. I'm just going to, so like roll my eyes at him essentially. And they said, don't take it personal. They didn't cut it because of you. They cut it because you're so fresh off TNA that they're worried that you'll be more over with the audience than Khali is. I mean, at this point, it's 2006, so at this point I'm still getting my hopes up about things, which has kind of waned a little bit in years in wrestling. Mm-hmm. But also because MTV put so much money into that. That budget had to be $1 million plus. No, I think he has a very infectious personality, and he's very charismatic, and people love him. And I actually have a Drake story that I feel like I haven't told yet. I've told Drake this, and I almost moved Drake to tears when I told him the story. I don't know if you have a minute here. I can tell. It kind of goes back to the WWE camp, though. And I said, hey, this guy, he'll write a review up, this and that. A lot of people go to this website, and might be good promotion, and like Super Dragon is just like. Because it's like, literally like it's people standing room only at these PWG shows, and Super Dragon just goes like, what am I gonna do with more people? I guess it's a good problem to have, right? Like, where am I going to put more people? And not a very good wrestler or a good person at all. Not just from my experiences, but from stories I've heard. He definitely should not probably be in the position he's in. But God bless him for working somebody into giving him a paycheck.